This is Tech Addicts. This week we're talking about Rolls-Royce's first electric car, a smart boy, a smart ring, Motorola's rollable display, Likea's M6 film camera, Philips 2-in-1 monitor with LCD and e-ink, and share our fury at YouTube. Hello and welcome to the Tech Addicts podcast. This week I am joined by Mr. Ted Salmon. How are you being, Mr. Ted Salmon?
I'm alright, apart from the fact that I've got a loose tooth. So if I can't talk properly, then you'll understand why. It's loose. Can you hear it? And
yeah, I can hear it jangling about there.
It affects my Fs. So if I say an F word, which of course we don't say on this podcast, then it's anyway. So yeah, I've got a tooth waiting to be pulled out by someone, but at the moment I can't find a dentist.
Right.
So
okay.
We'll see how we go with that.
You are aware you say you can't say F and then said that. So is it a different letter? And you've actually, is it like that Monty Python sketch? I can't say the letter B. C. Yes, that one.
Kettle, Kipling, car wait, Q wait.
Can you say the letter K?
Weather report is that it's been lagging down with rain all morning, and now it's stopped, and apparently the sun's coming out this afternoon. North Wales, there you have it. Northern Ireland.
Again, somewhat rainy, somewhat grey. Did you get that rain yesterday? That rain was quite superb.
No? Don't think so. Not anything superb. I mean, we did have rain, but not anything that I would write home about.
It was the kind of rain that you stood up and you walked over to the window and put your hands on your hips and went, I'm glad I'm inside.
No, I didn't get that at all. Reserved for you.
Yeah, it was great. I think that's the second one we've had this week. Torrential downpours. I guess we're going to be getting more. But then I did see a news report about something to do with the moon and how the moon has moved. And we may be suffering from, 2012 style floods with waves as high as your a skyscraper crashing down on cities and things.
Bit scary, isn't it? There's a thing on Netflix, a series, a Polish series that I was watching recently called Deep Water or something, or High Water, something like that. And that was doing exactly that. It was basically saying that the waters will come up from underneath. So just because you don't think you live by the sea anywhere, that you're not going to get away with that. It's going to come everywhere. So watch out. Have you seen any of that?
No, I haven't. But I'm okay. I'm not worried about flooding or anything like that because my friend's child is called Noah. We'll be all right.
Not you as well. The religious Northern Ireland conquers all. Blimey.
Well, it's he's a she. Actually, it's a little girl called Noah,
she?
which I thought was a bit peculiar. But apparently, it's a girl's name.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But yeah, water. I think water and wind are going to be the climate things that come our way these days. That no longer will we have the frozen Victorian Thames to skate on, but we'll just have wind and rain and water.
A muddy Thames that's been drained, aside from 2 months a year, whenever it's flooded half of London. Right, okay. Why can't it be something fun like a strange weather event? It's going to rain flumps. Lots and lots of flumps are going to fall on your town. They're fine. You can eat them if you like. But, it's got to be something deadly, doesn't it? It's Mother Nature's a bit scary.
Yeah. Never mind. We'll all be dead soon anyway.
Yes, that's very true. Yes. So, is there any point in doing a podcast since we're going to be dead?
No one's going to listen, are they? This time in 1 century, nobody alive will still be alive. Actually, that's probably not true, because people are being made to live longer now. Probably in a century's time, everyone will be 200 years old.
And I reckon some of these big celebrities that are dying are actually being cryogenically frozen so that they can live another day. They've got enough money in the bank. We'll suddenly hear that Bill Gates has passed away, but he's not. He's actually been kept on ice in a special Demolition Man style container, and he'll wake up in a bit like Futurama 4 centuries from now, ready to
be
enjoy his farmland.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, yes, all sounds a bit spooky. Talking of which, we had a lovely podcast this week. You and I talked about Halloween and all things spooky. So do tune into that, folks. Links in the show notes for that one.
Yeah. And, well, I kind of wanted to start the podcast with a somewhat tech-related rant that does link to that evening on Wednesday night. In fact, we'll go even further back just to prove how stressful the week was actually to be. On Tuesday night, my mother announced that she no longer had internet or telephone, so I had to contact TalkTalk and give off to them to say, something's happened here, can you send someone out to fix the problem? I've diagnosed everything in the house, but they went, no, we need to diagnose everything over the phone as well. Is it plugged in? And had to work my way all the way back to, yes, there isn't a problem in the house. In fact, it's the same problem that happened couple of years ago whenever you were working on the box and you broke some of the wires that connected her house up to the internet and services.
You bastards.
So can you do that again? No, we can't do that again. We have to tick off everything else before we get there. So long story short, we eventually got there and they went, right, we're going to send out an engineer. And I went on, they said, check again for the email that we're going to send to you, even though you don't have the internet. So my mother was coming round to my house every day to check her iPad to see if she had an email to say when the engineer was going to come.
Has she got no cellular either on her phone?
She does. She's got an old Doro phone, so she can make a phone call that way. So, yesterday she came round, there was still nothing. I went on to TalkTalk's website to see, put in the code to check out the problem, and they said that it's been resolved. I thought, oh, wow, maybe they've just put that through. Went round, checked, nope, made a phone call to her house, nope, couldn't get through. Still everything dead, no connection. So I rang them again, and they were like, oh, we're very sorry, we don't know why that's happened. It's like, well, it's kind of delayed everything a wee bit more. Can you sort it out? Well, what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go through everything again and then book an engineer. So we had to walk through the whole thing, checking all the connections, checking everything's turned on, and then eventually, yes, okay, we're going to send an OpenReach person. So that's hopefully going to happen. Hopefully on Tuesday.
A week later.
Yes. Meanwhile, she's got no phone. She's an elderly person, needs to use her phone to be able to talk about what the neighbours are doing with another neighbour. And she can't do that. And she doesn't quite understand what's happening because she's bought a new iPad, so she thinks it's the new iPad that's not working, not the old one. So she keeps getting the old one out and trying it, and it's not working. Oh, it's stressful. But in the middle of that, my son had a birthday. And on Wednesday night, when we were recording the projector room, I was building his computer before and after. However, I found one thing about Windows 11. Doing a fresh install of Windows 11 doesn't have the drivers for all things. The little MSI motherboard that I've purchased, when I put it in and ran Windows 11, Windows 11 requires an internet connection to set it up. And this is at the very beginning of the installation. Right. This isn't the upgrade from Windows 10 because I'm changing the motherboard, the processor, and the RAM. So I have to do a fresh install of Windows 11 to get things working nicely. But put it in, hooked it up, put the Ethernet cable in, and clicked install. And it got to the point where it was looking for an internet connection, and I couldn't find it. Like, well, the Ethernet's plugged in. There's flashy lights. What's the problem here? It's Windows 11. It doesn't have the drivers built in for that Ethernet port. So what I had to do was install Windows 10. And then I do not have an internet connection. It installed, started up, and as soon as it did the driver thing and populated the drivers. And then the internet just worked automatically. And it happened. Then I've got to put the USB stick in for Windows 11 and do an upgrade. So you need to have Windows 10 to be able to install Windows 11 unless you have the right board. And there's no way of telling if the motherboard works straight off the bat on the installation. It does say on the motherboard box that it's got TPM 2.0, so I thought, right, well, this is the best board to get. It's Windows 11 compliant, but it turns out it isn't. It hasn't got the drivers there. And if you don't have the internet, somehow, there's a driver's CD-ROM that came with the motherboard, and I thought, right, I'll get my wee USB CD-ROM, stick it in there, get all the drivers working for that to read the CD-ROM drive, and Shift F10 to DOS during the installation, go to there was the E drive, and then be able to install the drivers manually. Didn't work. Couldn't do it. It's just a pain. A real pain. So, yeah, Windows 11, nowhere near as good as it should be whenever it comes to fresh installs. I feel sorry for... There's probably network managers out there who have maybe a whole load of computers in a school or, in a university that they have to install Windows 11 on fresh. Mm-hmm. And perhaps some of the hardware inside it doesn't work.
So have you got round it somehow?
Well, yeah, I did Windows 10, then upgraded to Windows 11.
Okay, so you just did it the long way around.
Yeah, it took an awful lot longer because Windows 10 takes a wee bit of time to install, and then it's trying to do all of its updates as soon as it's installed. And I'm like, no, just need the internet connection. I'm putting this in. No, I just want to upgrade. Don't bother me with all this crap. And it's like, set up this, do this, and do that. Yeah. Hi, I'm Cortana.
Yeah. Really? Cortana? Does that still come up?
It still does as well with the Windows 11, I think.
Is it? Wow.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like you had quite a bit of a week there. Going back to your first story, I do remember when I first veered away from BT and I went to Sky. Sky were doing this broadband deal, and I thought, right, okay, I'll get into bed with Sky. And it was great while it was working. But as soon as something went wrong, you're relying on Sky to then talk to BT, to BT, the same as your mum has had to do here with another. You suddenly you need to deal with the piggy in the middle because the people that are actually going to come out are from BT. But you can't talk to BT. If you try and phone up BT, they say to you, oh no, you're a Sky customer, so you've got to go through Sky. And I guess it's the same thing with you.
It's exactly that. But, I'm leaving it with them. They have to get it sorted. I've checked her contract. She comes out of contract in April. And don't go easy on me, folks, here. I'm going to move her to Virgin afterward. Because, now hold on. Let me finish. Because it'll be an entirely fresh install. They'll be able to pick where it goes, or she'll be able to pick where the connector comes into her house. Because the BT connection comes in way round at the back corner of the house, which is completely illogical. It's an L-shaped house, a capital L-shaped house, and it comes in at the bottom foot of the L, and the router has to be there. And it doesn't reach the whole house, so she's got all kinds of Netgear boosters and home plugs to be able to get the internet to her living room, which is at the other end of the capital L. It's annoying.
I do think that over the years, my inclination is to just stick with BT. It may not be the cheapest deal you'll get, but at least it's all under one roof, and you can talk to BT as their customer. And it's just so Mum and Dad have had BT for decades, and we've never had a problem. I tell you, we did have a problem when they moved from ordinary cable to optical, but I think everyone has that problem for like 2 weeks. But apart from that, it's absolutely fine. And when something has gone wrong, little things, they just come out, and you can phone them up, and they're very responsive. And my inclination is to stick with one firm.
Well, that's true, yes. But this way, I get to orchestrate what way it comes in, and we get a fresh start.
Yeah.
The cabinet round the corner, I just think, is probably too full of wires. And any time anyone works on it, the couple of years ago, whenever this happened before, the engineer, I spoke to the OpenReach engineer, he came out to say it should all be working now. I asked him what the problem was, and he said, yeah, some of the wires have been broken, but I do see from the I've forgotten the trays that they have with all the wires going in, or shutter type things they are, you open them all up. He said there was a number of them broken, So he'll be back out at that box. He's sure in the next few days, whenever people start complaining about those, it's like, you didn't just fix them then. He goes, no, I don't have authorization to fix them. I'm like,
amazing,
wow.
isn't it?
So you have to, so maybe 10 of them are done, and you have to go out, and that's going to cost Talk maybe £200 a pop for you to go there, fix it, and then go away again.
They're all making money off each
That's
other.
amazing.
Yeah.
But you know, I've seen inside the cabinets; they are just chock full of wires. Something's destined to happen. Doesn't get closed properly, breaks a load of wires. That's a load of people down. So at least with Virgin, there's relatively less people at the moment on there, and she'll be able to choose where it comes into the house, get the broadband router right in the middle of the house, and aside from cutting the wire outside the house myself, I haven't had any problems with Virgin since it's been installed. I know a lot of people won't agree with that, and they've had constant problems, but I guess
you get amazing speeds.
I do, yes, and she can get TV and on that as well. She got a wee TV box there that could sort her out.
Very nice.
Yeah. Where's BT Vision or whatever it was called? Did they still do that now?
That's a BT box. I think they do. It's BT TV. It's called now. But people are just watching TV less and less and less. I can't remember the last time. I've been doing this experiment here in the last month or 6 weeks where I'm not watching the news. I don't want to know what's going on. And if something really serious happens, like there's a nuke coming from Russia, I'd like to know that. But generally speaking, hearing politicians squabbling with each other, I'm sick of it. So anyway, I stopped watching the news. And then I suddenly realised a while later that I'm not watching any live TV. When I sit down in the evening, I'm using Plex and I'm using YouTube and I'm using Netflix and Amazon Prime Video. I don't default any longer to watching the telly. And I saw an article in The Guardian this week, actually, about someone else that was doing exactly the same thing and noting that people watching live television is reducing. And mainly it's older people now that are doing that are kind of stuck in their ways, that want to, watch terrestrial TV. So I don't know. What about you?
I've tried doing that myself. I have. There was a good amount of years that I didn't have live TV at all, and I just relied entirely on Netflix, Amazon Prime, and all that kind of stuff and Plex for my TV watching habits. Mm-hmm. And it was only whenever they did the big change where they put in legislation about how under the TV license you have to have a TV license if you're doing Zoom, if you're watching Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and those sorts of things. So you needed to get a TV license. So I did, and I still don't have actual live TV, but I do have access to the iPlayer. And I suppose I use it from time to time, but not terribly often. But my mother would be... I've tried to get her onto Netflix and all that kind of stuff, but she just relies too much on the old-fashioned being able to switch channels. She doesn't even like the idea of switching up to BBC HD as opposed to BBC SD, because it's what is it, 301 instead of 101 or something like that on the controller to find it. Yeah,
changing between the services is a bit of a pain, I must admit. So if you are going from Netflix to Amazon Prime Video, it takes a minute or so to close one down, open the next one up, and get stuck into the next one, choose where you want to go, blah, blah, blah. And that's one of the advantages of this little Sky box that's come out that someone was talking about in the week in the group. The Sky TV box, which is now a streaming little box, which incidentally costs an absolute minimum of £26 a month, but the main one is £43 a month. But you can use it just like you could with a dish. If you want to change channels, you just go up to the next channel, and instantly it changes to the next channel. So... you're right. It just takes time to change with the system that you and I are clearly using between what you want to look at.
Yeah, but then what we have now, you've got say Plex have opened up a live TV streaming service, and it's pretty good. Everywhere you go, like Roku have their own TV service as well. My mum got into that a good bit. She started watching all these films that she'd never heard of before, and they were quite good. You know, you get the cheap TV movies and stuff that are on there, Hallmark and that kind of thing, which she was happy with, and she got to chew through a lot of that. So it's, you know, moving her on to something like Netflix and things isn't really a particularly good maneuver, because I don't think there's too much of modern popular TV programming that the elderly tend to want to get into.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about, you know, sort of, retirees or whatever. I'm talking the next step up, you know, the ones who loved Danielle Steele and things like that back in the 1980s, like my mum. Yeah. She just wants some nice family capers with a wee bit of a harder twist, you know, like maybe an ITV drama, that kind of thing, with a crime drama.
Exactly the same as my parents, and they're in their 80s, and what you just described is just them. They're really not bothered. Anything they watch on Netflix is things that I recommend generally speaking.
Yeah, and you can't imagine them sitting down and watching Dahmer, can you?
No, they wouldn't. But if I recommend something, and I think it's really good, like I recommended The Watcher, we were talking about on Projector Room last week, and they watched that, and they really enjoyed it. But they wouldn't have sought it out themselves. They would have just relied on me to tell them,
Yeah. All right, well, we've been wobbling on here for a while. Let's start the show. Feedback and contributions. Steve Heinrich has got back about Free Your Music, which is something we talked about last week. He'd recommended the service to be able to move quite easily all your playlists from one service to another. And Steve has to say, Ted, you are correct about this. Actually, Ted, you can read this out because it's to you, and it'll be severely strange with you going, Ted,
you are correct about the music service transfer being just hooks between services. Essentially, I think it pulls your playlists, songs, etc., and adds them to your library on the new service using the new service's version of the songs. So no MP3 stuff, just streaming in this case. It's basically matching songs across services and putting your playlists in the order you had them on the other service. So yeah, it was... Steve is just confirming what I thought it was last week. So thank you, Steve.
Terrific, yeah, good, nice tip there, Steve. Thanks for that. And we did have a long, lively conversation about MP3 streaming and all that kind of stuff that we are trying to come to grips with, I suppose would be the best way to. We're always trying to do that, something new. Okay, Hardline for the hardware, where we get new exciting stuff, and we're going to start off in the automotive sector with Rolls-Royce, which is kind of good because I just bought a load of shares in Rolls-Royce.
Did you?
Yes, I did.
You got far too much money.
Oh, well, I wouldn't say that lots and lots of shares. It's just enough, yeah. Rolls-Royce have launched their first electric car. This is called the Spectre. Which, strangely enough, is something to do with... I forgot what it stands for.
James Bond.
Yeah. Spectre, meaning... sorry, I should have had this prepared beforehand. No, not the actual meaning of the word Spectre. Never mind. Yeah, it's the villains in James Bond, and there's a James Bond movie named after Spectre. Yes. I thought I saw a spectre at your shoulder there. Spectre is the new Rolls-Royce, and this is a big, pretty gorgeous-looking electrical vehicle that expects to do about 206 miles out of its battery pack, which isn't a heck of a lot, but then it's Rolls-Royce, so it probably weighs more than your mum. And it has a 4.4 second 0 to 60 mile per hour time, which is quite nice. It's pretty fast. It's 577 horsepower and 664 pounds per pound foot, which is okay.
That's the weight, I suppose, of the motors. The doors appear to open backwards as well. That's very strange, isn't it?
Suicide doors, yeah. Or they call them starlight doors, because suicide doors isn't a great marketing ploy.
Why are they suicide doors?
Because you're stepping out directly into the traffic, and
Oh, I see.
A car can smash into you.
It looks really, really nice. And when I lived in Singleton in Chichester, we had the Rolls-Royce factory on our doorstep, and we used to see the new models being driven around by these spotty oiks. They were allowed out to test drive them around the neighbourhood. So we always used to see these posh cars driving around. But it would be really odd to see a silent one. I mean, I think Rolls-Royce cars were generally quite quiet anyway, but certainly when you're on the inside of them. But to be completely silent, kind of spooky. Do you remember that thing from the 70s? Maybe you don't. The white Rolls-Royce on Thrillers, and it was a thriller TV show, and that was it made a Rolls-Royce look very, very spooky, and I think a silent one would be even more spooky.
I do actually remember that, yeah. Yes, I do. I think I sat up and watched that with my parents, but I was at a very young age.
Right. Anyway, it looks really lovely, doesn't it? But then it would do. And how much is it going to cost? £400,000 starting price?
Well, I think it's $350,000 is the starting price. Somewhere between that and $465,000. There isn't too much in the way of details. Like, it doesn't tell you how many batteries are in it or what the battery capacity are. They do talk about the constellation of LEDs in the ceiling, which give more than 5,000 points of light in the interior, which sounds like a load of garbage to me. But they're missing all the big juicy details here.
They probably don't know yet, do they?
Yeah, we can just expect it. It's obviously renders and things like that, and they haven't pulled this all together. But it is a gorgeous looking car. It looks very much like the recent Bentleys that we see footballers tootling about in. But then Rolls-Royce and Bentley do share a lot of design flourishes.
The question for me, though, is that when in the old days, right, in the days gone by of petrol engines, when you bought a Rolls-Royce, you were buying it for life. It would last forever, and that was it. Now, with an electric one, with a battery that's going to die at some point, presumably, well, I guess that they'll replace the battery, or better still, maybe, replace the battery with something newer and with new technology and make it hot swappable almost, so you could take it out and put the new one in, so that would be good. I suppose someone's thought about this.
Yeah, but then I suppose Rolls-Royce moved away from that image that you bought a Rolls-Royce for life during the 80s and 90s, didn't they? With some of the ones that they went and put out, that you get Kindle Mint Cake driving along in, going rah rah rah, we're going to smash the oiks.
Yes.
Okay, so there's going to be a smart buoy, or at least 6 of them, dumped into the Gulf of Cornucopia, which is off the coast of Chile, to monitor whales against ship collisions, which is very interesting, life-saving way to do things, I suppose. Ted, what can you tell us about this?
Only really what the report says, which is that they're going to stick these buoys in the water. The buoys are using AI and computer-generated stuff to listen, inverted commas, to the ocean and know when sea life is coming along, when whales are kicking about. And apparently this is a problem, that whales quite often bump into ships and it damages the wildlife. And this thing is going to send out, like a lighthouse, I suppose. It will send out a beacon to passing shipping to say, "Watch out! Here's the map of where we're detecting wildlife to be." And they reckon that's going to the existence of whales and other large sea life are helping to combat global warming and stuff. So the less of them that are in the sea out there, the worse it is for us as well, in terms of the things we were talking about earlier, like being flooded out in our homes. So yeah, it sounds really interesting, and I don't know, no idea who's paying for it or who's made it, but it looks like it's a good initiative to me.
Yeah. It also tracks the health of the ocean as well, which I thought was an interesting idea too, where it calculates the sort of oxygen levels and things like that, and the temperature and various other bits of criteria to tell you just how healthy the water is that that the life is having to live in. So I imagine that that would get churned up. Say, for example, I remember being in Ocho Rios in Jamaica, and there's a harbour there where all the cruise ships dock. And working on the cruise ships, we got to see them frequently, and we would be in there, a couple of times a week, and you get to see the water being somewhat polluted, and the cruise ships were trying their very best to have these initiatives to stop the pollution, but you could just see it sitting on top of the water, and the water was not a nice place to be. Yeah, and there was actually an interesting little thing that happened where they were transporting drugs between the islands in the Caribbean by sticking them to the bottom of the cruise ships.
Right.
And they were getting divers to go down there and stick them on there, and then divers to go down and collect them at another port of call. And the divers were getting sick. And that's how they worked out that this was actually happening, which I thought was kind of interesting. Yeah.
Well, they reckon that up to 25,000 animals die each year. You wouldn't think that, would you? I suppose there's an awful lot of shipping out there, and so there must be an awful lot of collisions. Yeah,
there is. Yeah, but it's also from, whales are very sensitive to sound, and the amount of noise in our oceans is. There was a statistic or something like that said it was similar to your next door neighbour having a couple of ghetto blasters going in their house,
right,
and you trying to sleep at night. It was just constant noise. And they reckon one of the reasons for the likes of the recent pilot whale beachings that we've been seeing down in, was it Australia, where the multitude of whales would wash up on the beach, is due to ginormous noises under the water of things that could be, maybe illegal tests or various different technological tests that they're doing, or things that are happening, explosions, ruptures, and high-pitched frequencies that are going through the water that are affecting the marine life's sensitive hearing. So this will help. Hopefully it'll become an initiative that they can put all over the show and in areas of interest where things happen. They could post these off of the coasts of those areas in Australia and places where the whales do beach themselves, in a better idea of what's going on.
Very good. Well, we got more mileage out of that story than I thought we were going to. I thought that would be a pass over quickly one. But no, well done.
It's something that I care about, so I talk a little bit more about it.
Good for you.
All right, something I don't care about is Samsung reportedly starting to work on a smart ring. Wow, and I'll refer back to Whatever Works, where you and Aidan quite frequently talk about his ring that he wears, and he can make payments with it, which I thought was a fascinating piece of hardware. But then that sort of got you thinking, what could you put in a ring that would be useful? And Samsung are going, well, we're going to put health and heart rate monitors and things like that in a ring that will work possibly in conjunction with your smartwatch and your phone. So they'll get every bit of information about you out there. But Ted, what can you tell us about this ring that's going to dazzle us?
No, nothing really, except what you said. But the point is, I think, is that people like me who can't stand wearing watches, and incidentally, I got a Pixel watch in this week to review, and lasted about 5 minutes with it on my wrist. I just can't stand it. So I gave it to my mum, and my mum's all over it. She thinks it's great. Talk about someone in their 80s adopting technology. She's right in there, and she's learning how to use it, and she's got it hooked up with her Pixel 4a 5G, and she thinks it's great and really, really likes it. So my point was that something like this that would do that heart tracking and activity tracking and some basic health stuff like oxygen levels, but it's only on a finger. I could probably live with that. I don't particularly want to wear a ring, to be honest. I find that quite intrusive as well. But if I could see the benefits of having those kind of health monitoring stuff going on, I think I could be talked into it, particularly if it was cheap enough. And you wouldn't need a watch in the loop. You just a phone will do, and you can keep an eye on yourself. I like this. I think it will work really well. And I wonder how you charge it. It must be wirelessly charged, and I wonder how long the battery would last. That's a good question, I think, even though I say so myself.
Well, how does Aidan charge his ring? Does it plug in?
No, it doesn't. There's no battery. There's no charge in it. Or it's just a chip, and it talks NFC, and that's it. That's all it does. Whereas this one, clearly, is going to have to be powered in some way. So it's probably a bit early for us to be covering this story, to be honest, because we don't know the answers. But it'll be interesting to see how they're doing it. But then it might use so little battery that, I mean, you might just sit it on a Qi charging pad once a week, and that's enough. I don't know.
One thing that they might do is put in some exclusive features so that it doesn't take away directly from their watch sales. So that this would maybe monitor some particular health feature that they don't do in the smartwatch, or they might take out of the smartwatch to do it in the ring, so that you buy both. Because I don't see any, for a business situation or a business decision, packing some of the features into that would probably more likely pull away sales of watches, as opposed to, because watches always have struggled. And launching something else that gives people a viable option not to buy a watch might actually do away with yet more sales of watches.
I've got an idea. Round the outside of the ring, you could have a ticker tape display of the time and notifications scrolling around the ring. And if you shake your hand, it turns on. So it's off usually, but if you want to look at it, shake your hand and then it comes on. I'm going to patent.
Great, yeah. Is that your phone ringing? Is that Samsung right now saying "Come and work for us"?
Yeah. It does actually look like it could do that because it's quite flat around the outside, isn't it?
Certainly is. I don't think that is the ring that they're going to be releasing. I think that's just a
mock-up. I'll buy one if it's under 100 quid. No, if it's under 80 quid, 79 quid, and I'll get one.
Yeah, but I imagine they're probably going to do like a really high-end one as well. That's very fashionable, and you'll get rich footballers and things like that wearing them.
Yeah,
driving around in their Bentley or possibly their Rolls-Royce Spectre.
Yes.
Okay, so FCC, the blokes that after America declared war on Huawei and ZTE, FCC are continuing to push this by ensuring that the chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel has sent a proposed ban.
That's a great name, isn't it?
It is, yeah. For telecommunications equipment made by companies such as Huawei and ZTE, as they are still deemed a security threat or a national security risk. Sorry.
But this woman wanted to lift the ban, didn't she? So she's one of the people who had to put this proposal forward to say, let's open this up now and let's approve these companies that have been banned. Let's open it up. And she was kind of told to go and sit in the corner and keep quiet, and they're not. And in actual fact, they've now added a load of new companies to it as well. Companies I've never heard of, like Hyteria and Hangzhou and Zhejiang. But they've all been added to this blacklist over the period of time. But it's Huawei that seem to have hit the headlines, because I think the reason is because Huawei were already installing infrastructure into the 5G system at the time and other communication networks. But if they keep banning all these people, I don't know. I suppose they're hoping that over time that they'll home grow their own or use Nokia or something. Mind you, Nokia's in bed with Russia, isn't it? So you can't really win, can you?
No, it's an impossible thing, and it's something that at a consumer level we never really see, and we just have to take the word of the folks at the top. And you can't help but wonder, with the amount of corruption that goes on, Is it just convenient for them to ban all sort of things like that? Because it was that Nancy Pelosi bought a huge amount of shares in Tesla before the big boom, and she made a huge amount of money out of that, and that sort of thing happens. That it is kind of insider trading, if anything, and if they have shares in a company, then getting rid of Huawei and ZTE will start to see companies that they have a vested interest in gaining a better footing, and they can be lobbied by companies as well to do that.
But there does seem to be a huge amount of paranoia anyway between the East and the West now, probably not helped by what Russia is up to at the moment, which just seems to be getting worse and worse, and the divide is becoming bigger and bigger. Not that we're going to turn into a political podcast at all, but this is a technology-based implication of all that. And technology not being shared, and it's a real shame that for example, we haven't got Huawei phones. We have, but we can't use them in the way we want to use them, because I think that they would be hugely popular. The P30, I remember the P30 Pro, was it? And everyone was all over that as the best thing since sliced bread, and some people still are, and yet it's kind of removed from our field of vision almost. And all these lovely new phones that they're bringing out, Chinese only. Real shame.
Yeah, we do have slightly more limited options but we have other brands that are coming in and sort of filling the void, but those brands aren't as established. So it's harder to tell someone to go out and, Oppo is one of the best companies you can be buying a phone from at the moment, or if you're Ted Salmon, Oppo. Or isn't that
Oppo, yeah.
And they're like, oh, I don't know. No, I might just go ahead and get an iPhone then. It's like, no, don't. You don't have to go and spend that much money. You frequently buy a cheaper phone, so why not just carry on and embrace the new names that are coming in? They're ditching their Huawei and they don't know where to go. Mm-hmm. That's a problem.
Yeah. Oh well, never mind. Talking of which,
one
of those Motorola, who are a firm who seem to specialise in that kind of low end, sell them out and expect everyone to keep them for a year or two at most, and that's the other approach. It's not very eco-friendly, but the flagship Motorola is, until recently anyway, kind of gone away. However, there is a concept that came out this week from Sam Mobile, which was talking about a rollable phone, which Motorola may be working on. It seems like they have got some sort of prototype in someone's hand on a video here, or a GIF anyway, which is rolling out, but not the way in which we saw rollable phones working with the likes of Oppo and TCL and other companies that we've spoken about over the last year or whatever on this show. It doesn't roll out sideways, it rolls upwards. And I think that this is a really neat idea, because very often with phones, I do find that they're just too tall. So you could default to it in its closed position, and it's only like about, 3.5 inches tall or something. And then you press a button or whatever you do to open it up, and it gets taller. So if you want to watch in landscape sideways some media, or you want to scroll through long lists of Twitter or whatever, you can do that. And then when you want to reach the whole screen, you close it down again. It's fantastic. I want one of these, and it's a shame it's only a concept. I do hope that it comes to fruition. Do you?
You hit the nail on the head. I agree with everything you said there. This is exciting. This is the next step that I want to see popping up. Google what? I didn't say anything near okay. I said I agree with Ted. Don't look at me like that.
Stupid phone.
Shh. That's enough. Grief. Right. Yes. I like the look of this. Yeah. I am going to keep my voice down in case I anger her. It's an Android phone. Why are you getting annoyed, Google? Right.
I bet it's if it does make it out, it's going to be really expensive. It looks like it's going to automatically roll up, which means it's motorized, and not manual.
I thought you were going to go. It was going to automatically roll out next year.
That would have been really cool, wouldn't it? Shall we edit that back in?
Yeah, because it won't sound forced at all, will it?
Okay.
No, look at us. We're just a couple of guys with a lot of missed opportunities, as usual. No, it does. And this will be the first. Well, I suppose we keep saying this every time there's a new roll-out screen that appears, because Samsung have theirs as well. This will be the one of the first. Well, whoever gets to the market first will be the big step into the next generation. I do think we need to forget about folding phones, because the rolling phone is what we're at. Imagine being able to walk around with something that's a wee bit larger than an old roll of film in your pocket. Mm-hmm. 36 snaps on your Kodak or Fuji film, and being able to press a button and it rolls out into a phone. Oh, that's me.
Nokia.
I can't.
Do you remember that Nokia concept? They did that probably 10 years ago. Nokia were rolling out. Yeah, I got it in, you see.
Well done.
They were rolling out various concepts of. Remember that one that wrapped around the wrist, and it was completely around the wrist, around the whole wrist, and it was all display. And I think one of those Nokia ones was indeed a rollable like this that came out from, like you say, just a roll of film size thingy. And if you pull it out, then it's all screen. Very exciting, I think, that whole line, yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait for this to happen. And well, folding phones did come pretty quick after we started seeing them. Mm-hmm. So we could see these in the next year or two if we're all still alive.
Indeed. Great. And flip phones too.
Yeah, absolutely. Going back to the flip phones, which I'm telling you to forget about, Oppo have a flip phone that is going to be slightly better than the Find N with a bigger battery and a 15-megapixel camera. The picture of this, I looked at it initially and thought, that's a Nintendo Switch. No, not a Nintendo DS. No. What was it?
Oh, no, hang on a minute, because let me just clarify something here, because on the PSC this week, I thought that picture was the picture of the device, but it's not. That's the Find N, and I got really confused with that. Any PSC listeners, I do apologise for that. That's not the photograph. The thing that they're talking about, this new flip phone, is not pictured here, and it probably doesn't even exist. Do carry on.
Brilliant.
6.8-inch screen. The difference between the Flip 3, which I've got here, and indeed the Flip 4 from Samsung, is that the external screen is going to be bigger if this comes to fruition from Oppo. And that is very welcome. I think if the outside screen of my Flip 3 was bigger and more useful, it would be a whole different ballgame. Motorola have done that with the Razr. They've made more screen on the outside. And I do think that Samsung need to do that with the Flip 5 and make it bigger. I'm sure they will. But this Oppo looks like it's doing that with a 3.26-inch external screen. If you think about 3.26 inch is actually quite a big area, and it would be covering the whole of that front. So I say get on with it, Oppo. Let's have this and bring it out.
Yeah. But I'm sure we will have it fairly soon. They are listening. Mm-hmm. Okay, Leica, we have the M6 film camera. Ted, this is you.
Ooh,
all over.
Lovely, isn't it? It's absolutely gorgeous, and it's 5,000 quid, and they're not going to make very many of them. And they do...
Because it's 5,000 quid and they only sell 4.
Exactly, yeah. It's a short production run. It's absolutely gorgeous. Even the box that it comes in with its red velvet is just to die for. This is the kind of thing you see in Christie's or something. It's just lovely. And a film camera in 2022, you'd think no, but actually there are Leica fans out there who really still want this stuff and are still using film. Film is still in production, and it looks great. Now, well, the thing that I homed in on here was the viewfinder. Now, they're saying that it's got an anti-glare MP style 0.72 times viewfinder. Well, I'd like that to be 100% viewfinder, please, Leica. But what I did wonder is what they're doing with that. They said they've got the basics in there, like LED light meter, center dot, and battery warning. But I don't know if you ever had hands on with a Fujifilm camera, Gareth, recently. I had the Fujifilm X100 F, and they'd done some really clever stuff with the viewfinder. So you could have it in optical mode if you wanted to, or you could switch it into a full LCD digital mode. And if you turned it into one or the other, you got more information. And I think it would be really nice to have seen Leica doing that with their viewfinder on this particular model, and say to people, right, here's the optical viewfinder if you want it. We'll overlay some information, but not everything. But if you want to flick this switch, you can have an LCD viewfinder. I guess that's not the way rangefinder mentality works generally, but I think it would be a really nice feature, and I think it would be very popular and help with the way in which film cameras are these days. And of course you get all the benefits of a film camera of not having anything on the back. You don't need anything on the back because there's no screen to look at what you're looking at. So, I mean, on this particular example, they've got the ISO dial on the back, which is an interesting choice, I suppose. Mm-hmm. But you could put whatever you like on the back, couldn't you? In fact, I remember back to my Nikon days when you had these replaceable backs you could put on, which had all sorts of different options that you could play around with, and date imprinting and just all sorts of stuff. And those days of film cameras were just gorgeous. And of course, Leica's stupidly priced, so I'll never own one. But back in the day, I would have absolutely loved one. And if someone wants to buy me one of these, you're very welcome.
Well, $5,000 on them. It's beautifully presented, I have to say. It is a very desirable looking camera. I don't really know what to say on it. I just can't imagine. I'm never going to see one in my life.
No.
And I don't think either are you.
No.
And I don't think we'll ever probably talk about this again. It's a bit sad.
But if you had it, you see, what people would say to you is that if you had this, you wouldn't use it because you've got your phone with you and you've got digital cameras if you want them and blah, blah, blah. But I think that the mentality would change. If you had a £5,000 camera like this in your possession, you would jolly well go out and use it, and you would do stuff with it. It would become a hobby for you again, or for me, it would become a hobby again. It would be like, I've got this gorgeous bit of kit, I'm going out there, I'm taking up photography again, and I'm going to do this. And
but would you?
I think.
What if you dropped it?
Yeah, that's a point.
What if someone bumped into you and knocked it over?
That's a good point. If you lost it or broke it, you wouldn't be able to get another one, would you? Because they're on a limited run.
Yeah, and you'd cry a lot. $5,000, just like that. And it's not like you can turn around and go, oh, you're going to pay for that. They're like, all right, okay, I suppose it was my fault. What is it, about £100? No. Sure, it's a film camera. It's worthless.
Yeah.
How many megapixels is that?
I wonder if they'll sell me the box. I'll just have the box.
Oh, then you can go to the insurance company and say, I had one, but it was stolen. Good thinking. Right, yeah.
No, I just wanted to look at it. Anyway, there you go. The Leica M6. I don't know when it's coming. Does it say when it's coming? If it's coming?
Oh, I didn't see that, actually.
It's
available to pre-order. Clicking through the link.
Pre-order, is it?
Coming soon, just says.
Oh, right, okay. I've got some time to save up my $5,000 then.
I wonder if you have to pay the $5,000 straight up, and then whenever they get about 100 orders, they'll start manufacturing it.
Oh right, like a Kickstarter.
Yeah. Oh, we're not going to make this. No, at the cost to our company. We'll wait until everyone's got their pre-orders in. Yeah. So, moving back to Samsung, a company we haven't talked about in a while, and their pointless products. They are actually making a good product, which could be getting banned in the European Union, and that's their 8K TV. And Samsung has said that unless something changes in March 2023, will spell trouble for the emerging 8K industry. The power consumption limits on the 8K TVs and the micro LED based displays are set so low that essentially none of these devices will pass.
Oh dear, what a waste of money that would be. You might as well buy a Leica M6. Power
consumption limits are so low. Now, I don't understand what that means.
The EU have said that they want everyone to be super eco-friendly, and so
Yes.
they're saying to manufacturers that if you're going to produce goods, they need to comply with this set of criteria, with this hardware, and it's got to be based on this consumption limit. It can't be using too much electricity, basically. So you've got to get on with it. And the ones that Samsung have made will not comply with the limits that the EU have set. I don't understand why it's so difficult to understand. Come on, keep up at the back.
Well, because I have been spending some time with various different items around my house trying to work out what is expensive and what is inexpensive to run.
Yeah.
And I've noticed that my TV, my 4K TV, is surprisingly low in the amount of power that it uses. Because it was one thing that I've always noticed. I think I remember having a chat with, was it Mike Warner maybe on MeWe or Twitter about energy levels. You know the way you get your fridge or freezer has an A-rated energy level, or your tumble dryer and that. TVs were always rated down about F or G because they were quite power hungry. So I thought I'll plug my TV into this and see just how much power it uses. And I will say that it does use an awful lot more power whenever I turn HDR on. Oh. But it's not as much as whenever I plugged it into the 1080p TV that's sitting behind me and the wee 720p that's up in my son's room. They use a vast amount more power than the 4K one that's sitting, the 65 or 75 inch, I can't remember which it is, I don't want to boast, in my living room, used less power than both of those two added together. Which is what made me think that what is Samsung doing here, that their QLED 8K TV uses more power than any of these other devices? That's bonkers. No way. They need to go back and start redeveloping this, change their capacitors or whatever, but get that power consumption down. That we don't live in a luxury world that we used to live in back in the 80s, whenever you had a cathode ray tube that took Battersea Power Station to be able to run it. This is a wee bit different. These should be getting less and less power hungry as they go on, and I thought they were up until I saw this, and that's why I'm confused.
Yeah.
Have I answered your question?
You have. The good news, though, for us is that it only affects the EU. We'll be able to get them.
Right, okay.
Except that Samsung won't think that the UK market is worth bothering with, so they'll go.
But we do have. Well, I suppose on the mainland, you guys are going to have blackouts, aren't you? There's going to be 3 or 4 blackouts a day.
Don't know. I don't watch the news.
for 3-hour periods. So during the morning, during the afternoon, during the night, you're not going to be able to watch television or heat your house, and all your food's going to defrost.
Unless you've got a Jackie, like Steve. Jackie.
Yeah, that's true.
What's it called?
Jacoby, Jackanori.
One of those things. It begins with a J.
Yeah, Jack and Jill. That's becoming a necessary purchase if these things go ahead, because you're going to have to plug your freezer into something. And there's a lot of people who are relying very heavily on their freezers, where they do one shop a month, fill it with meat and everything that they can, and the British government's going to go and turn their freezer off for 3 hours.
I guess that's why it's only 3 hours, isn't it? Because as long as you don't open your freezer in 3 hours, it's not going to be a big problem, really. If you keep the door open, it might.
Well, you never know.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I think Samsung will obviously comply, like everyone else does, like Apple do when they're fined, and Google do when they're fined, and everyone else. I think we've got another story coming about that, haven't we? Someone else being fined, I seem to remember. Well,
it could be, yeah. It rolls me back to the idea that we're paying big prices for various bits of technology and software, and I don't think that the companies behind them are doing the necessary R&D or whatever to make them as different to last year's or whatever. It takes me back to the days that I gamed on an MS-DOS computer, and I would have Doom on 3 floppy disks, and now you've got a game like Call of Duty that's 200 gigabytes to download from the PlayStation servers. And, you know, one of the fellas that I used to chum around with, I remember him referring to a version of Doom that I bought on CD that fit on the CD, and it was 600 megabytes. He just said that was lazy programming because they hadn't used good tactics to be able to reduce the size of the game down to a number of 3.5-inch discs. Yeah. And it's the same with Call of Duty, and it's the same with these TVs where they're taking the lazy way out of just going, right, well, we have a bunch of power bits over there, we'll just whack those in and make a really nice display. Yeah. Doesn't matter how much electricity it draws, that's not important, but it is important, and it's right that the EU limits the amount to make sure that next year people are using less electricity. I'm sounding like I'm some kind of ranty person today. Sorry,
it's very difficult for these firms, though, isn't it? If to predict. You see, Samsung will have been making these 8K TVs well in advance of the EU deciding that they're going to have a highbrow meeting and decide to ban such and such and such and such. Meantime, no one's told Samsung and other firms that, 18 months ago they started production on these things and they suddenly got to be clairvoyant and know what's going to be coming around the corner. I can see it from both sides. It's very difficult, isn't it?
Well, I don't think the governments do get to agree on these sorts of things 15 minutes before Samsung launches a new TV. I'm sure it's been in the legislation or the guidance for a number of years that it's stepping down the lowest energy class of G. It's going to change in 2023. That's probably been on the cards for at least 4 years.
Yeah, and then at the 11th hour, someone appeals it, and then it changes, and then it doesn't have to happen after all. And so Samsung would have made all the changes that they didn't need to do. Right? It's just all politics crap, isn't it? And
yeah, they'll end up spending more money and lobbying the politicians to change the regulation than they would spending money creating some sort of new valve or new capacitor.
Bureaucratic claptrap. Curses to you, especially in the EU.
Yeah. Well, this is getting far too political, this podcast. We're going to have to stop. Let's talk about something less political. Philips is launching 2-in-1 monitor with an LCD and e-ink panel.
Woohoo!
What's the power regulation on this? Not
well, the power output on the the e-ink panel part of it is minuscule. This is an interesting project which Philips has launched into, which is a 2-in-1 monitor. So on the left-hand side, or maybe on the right, it's probably ambidextrous and nocturnal. There's a traditional kind of, LCD colour panel. And then on the right, apparently bolted on, although no one seems to quite know yet, is an e-ink panel, which is obviously better on your eyes. So I think the idea here is that if you are reading a document that doesn't need to be all singing, all dancing and all colourful, you can just rest your eyes by reading whatever it is on the e-ink monitor instead, off to one side, which is a really sound idea. It's really good. The trouble with this is that, and there's not a huge amount of information out about this yet, except for kind of sizing and what the panel is and the 13.3 inch size of the display, is how it's going to interact with the other screen. No one seems to be saying about whether you can, like, for example, use your mouse to take a PDF and drag it from your main screen into the e-ink screen, and then it suddenly becomes available to read across there. No one's talking about that. It's just like, it almost feels as though it's been bolted on, and that's it. It's just a simple, almost independent of the other display. What we do know is that it's got its own power input, a USB-C socket. And some people are thinking that it might even be detachable, so you could take it off and use it as a tablet, or an e-ink reader for reading books or whatever. But it just looked like an interesting idea, and it's obviously in its infancy so far, and it's nowhere near coming out, I don't think. But I think it was just a interesting idea, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. I want this. I really do. I've been holding back on buying a second monitor because I do need a second monitor, but I've never wanted to actually have a fully fledged monitor beside me, just sucking power the way it sucks power. Having an e-ink screen would be beautiful, just to be able to have Outlook or something sitting on there that doesn't update terribly often, or your Pi-hole settings or whatever. Just something that you're not actively using, but it can just sit there, just sipping the tiniest bit of power that needs to update you rather less often than what's on the main screen. Just a secondary display that doesn't use power very much. That would be gorgeous. I love this. Well done, Philips. Philips just constantly surprise me. I think that they're one of the most underrated companies out there. Everything they do has some sort of use and thought to it. And it isn't just copying everyone else.
Oh, hang on a minute. I didn't realise that it's actually available. $1,500.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, the last paragraph here on this link in the show notes, it can be ordered for $1,500, ships worldwide. But if you don't buy it from the Good e-reader website, you've got to import it from China. So it's probably a China-only thing, I suppose. You can buy the e-ink monitor on its own for $550 if you buy it direct from China. They need to roll this out widely, don't they?
They do, yeah. And have a couple of different options and things like that. 23-inch IPS monitor is a bit lacking. It would be nice if it was maybe 28 or something like that, and then you could have a similarly sized, not the same size, but the way that this kind of clips onto the side, and it's notably smaller than the main monitor. Having that on there as well, being able to pick your size for that would be great too. A range of these would be nice.
I'd like to know about the dragging and dropping though, and I suspect that it won't be a thing personally. We don't know that, but getting a PDF, for example, up on your screen and then dragging it with your mouse across to the other one, that would be the killer feature, wouldn't it? Yeah.
I imagine it'll just work like a secondary monitor.
Yeah.
And you can drag your stuff over to it as you normally do. And you could stupidly go and drag Call of Duty over it and play it on there, and it would be a laugh. But for what most people would use it for, slow updating things like Outlook. Whenever new emails or filters in every 15 minutes or something like that, then that would be great. You just see it slowly change. You're like, oh, I've got a new email. I'll open that and read it.
Indeed. Well done, Philips.
You could have Audacity on there. It's sitting down in the corner.
Except that it might not have the gubbins to run it. And this is what we don't know really, is how integrated the system is with Windows, and how if they talk to each other, or whether the e-ink thing is standalone and it's just literally bolted on. And I don't know.
Well, you could sell a couple more phones to buy one of these, couldn't you? Right, grand. That's sorted. All right, moving into In the Name of the Game, where we have fun things, because Netflix is doubling down on their gaming with 55 games in development. Oh, this amuses me. I keep forgetting that Netflix does gaming. Ted, how did you remember that Netflix does gaming?
I did, but I don't use it. What they're talking about is 55 games in development. But what's interesting, I think, about this story is that the 55 games they've got in development, some of them are being based on original Netflix properties, which I think and thought maybe means that some of those homegrown shows that we've been watching, like, for example, The Watcher, second mention.
Dahmer.
Yeah, Dahmer. So you could have fun with that, couldn't you? Some of these homegrown Netflix productions, maybe that some of them could be turned into games, and perhaps that's what they're talking about here. Those people that have seen The Watcher will know that the house that The Watcher is based in is full of nooks and crannies and interesting dumbwaiters and all sorts of stuff, and you could make a right old good game out of that, I think. And similarly, as you say, the Dharma, what's it? No, they wouldn't be allowed to do that, would they?
No.
But other original Netflix content being turned into games, I think that's quite exciting. And Netflix is so hugely popular that people would have watched those shows. And like I'm just talking about the Watcher, I really liked it. If they had a game based on that, I'd have a go at it. I might get hooked on it. I might not. I might think it's crap. But because I know the show, I know the film, I know the series, I'd certainly have a go. So I think it might be quite a wise move.
All right.
There you are.
Yes. I think if you look back at history, all of it, I don't think there is a good example of a well-done TV series or film series moving across to game.
Okay.
They've all been pretty bad.
Okay.
There have been ones that have been all right, I suppose. And it works the other way. There's never been a really good game that's been turned into a film effectively. I think there are one or two that may bend that theory, I suppose. But they did Stranger Things, and that game was, yeah.
Right.
I don't have much faith in this. I think, it's a good idea that Netflix does try to hook into their games, their films. Like a game of Carter would have been a bit of a headache, I suppose.
Yeah, that would be fun, wouldn't it? A kind of slash 'em up fighting action game. If you'd watched Carter and even if you didn't think it was any good or you thought it was silly, playing a game based on it where you know the locations and you know the helicopters and the train and you can picture yourself in that scene, that could just be quite fun, I think. I think it's a smart move to try and hook people into shows that they might well have watched and get them gaming. But you obviously think I'm wrong.
Well, it's just because I'm so used to being disappointed by movie properties when they come to games, and I have bought them, and I'm looking over at Indiana Jones and the Fate of Atlantis, the action game. Obviously, there wasn't a movie of that, but it was a very, very disappointing game that I regret buying. It's worth an absolute fortune now, which is great. But there's very few good examples of good games from films and TV shows.
Fair enough.
Maybe Netflix can turn that around, but I don't have high hopes in that.
Mm-hmm.
So, Microsoft has challenged Apple and Google to build its own mobile gaming studio. Now, I don't think we're just talking about Google Play Store here, are we?
The way that I understood this story was that Microsoft want to do the same as Steam has done, which so an Xbox branded gaming application which will be put out to iOS and Android and Windows, no doubt, whereby you can bypass all the Play Store and bypass all the other gaming stores, and like Steam have done, filter people in to play games via their own app, inverted commas, and label it the Xbox gaming mobile thing. It's all this drive to get people on mobile, isn't it? They see what Google are doing, they see what now Steam are doing, and they see what Apple are doing, and they think we want part of this mobile gaming scene. And I'm not quite sure. I think that's as I understand this story. That they're heading for people's phones and tablets and keeping all the money themselves that people, when they buy a game or rent a game or whatever.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. Microsoft they've done that before on the PC. They had their gaming store that died miserably, and there's a number of examples in time of them trying to tap into the PC gaming market, and Steam is so untouchable, and people know that Steam is coming to mobile, that it's going to be available on laptops and then eventually tablets with a controller, and it's all geared up to run nicely on Linux. In the next few years, we're going to see that. So I think Microsoft are trying to get on board. They have conquered the cloud streaming area, the tiny area of cloud streaming that people are enjoying. Sony aren't a competitor in that realm at all. They haven't got there, and then Google has just shut down Stadia. There's a few other names out there, but whenever you think of cloud gaming, it is Xbox now, and they have an upcoming console that is dedicated to their Xbox streaming service, and it is just going to be like a little box that sits under your TV, quite small, and connects your controllers to the internet, a bit like Stadia, really, but Xbox flavored. So it is a race for that, but I think they want to cover all their options because Steam is still their big threat, and Steam, with NVIDIA's GeForce Now service having the hooks into Steam, there is potential there that GeForce Now could be their biggest adversary going forward because they have the backing of the Steam library. Xbox want to be able to cover all their doors. They're thinking ahead rather than playing catch up, which is an interesting thing. It should hopefully see some competition, but there are far too many people who are loyal to Steam, and Steam's pricing structure is so much better than we've seen on any other platform. Stadia came along and it was far too expensive for people to actively game on. Every year, Steam has millions of sales, and you get whatever game you're wanting at a rock bottom price during the year. And even if you were to buy it new, it's still a little bit cheaper than you would end up paying for the alternative on Xbox or PlayStation. Steam just has everything right at the moment, and they seem to be able to. They're ahead of their own game, which is great. It's going to be interesting to see if any of this works or it just falls on its ass. Well, what would you be interested in? Well, you haven't tried Steam yet, but
no. I did. Like I was saying to you years ago, I had a Steam account because one of my clients with a learning difficulty was not able to do it themselves, so I opened a Steam account to facilitate him using gaming on his Xbox or whatever he had. But I didn't ever really look at it. Well, he couldn't do it himself, and the only way that I could do it was to open an account for him. Anyway, if I didn't know you and I hadn't had that experience with that client of mine, I would never have heard of Steam. I've never heard anyone else that I know talking about Steam. I just wouldn't have known it existed. So, yes, As I said on the last show, it's something that I do need to have a look at, particularly now it's mobile and I can use it on my devices broadly. I should have a look, yeah.
Yeah. You still need a computer to be able to play the games, mind you.
You still need a computer to what?
To play the games.
Do you? Oh, I thought you could play them on phones now.
No, I think that's the future. They're trying to get everything sort of. They've got the Steam Deck, which is their dedicated hardware, and it runs the Steam OS, which is a Linux-based Steam gaming operating system. And I think they're looking to get all of their games compatible with Steam OS, which is a version of Linux, and that'll open up the doors for the likes of laptops and Chromebooks and all those sorts of things to be able to run it. There is memory is failing at the moment, but there was something else mentioned about how well they run outside of the Windows environment. Games that were made for Windows run better on Steam OS than they do on Windows, which is crazy to think. Steam have made those boundaries. So with Steam OS becoming such a viable option, Linux becoming incredibly good for the end consumer, there may be in the next couple of years massive amounts of people moving from Windows across to Linux. I have already started thinking about it, and I spoke to you last week about how you can now run your Microsoft apps on Linux through Bottles, and it runs just as well as you would expect in Windows. So those bits of legacy software that you still require can run through Linux. It doesn't run particularly well on the Chromebook, which is unfortunate, but it's still early days of, I think, some sort of big mass migration that's going to happen. And I'll be right there. First day, as soon as SteamOS becomes a proper alternative, I'll be moving across, because I can't abide Windows anymore. It's just getting harder and harder. And that's another thing that I forgot to rant about at the start of the show. I'd gotten that far. Windows 11, installing it on my son's computer, doing the upgrade from Windows 10. He's got all these nice new features. I don't have them. I've been searching for updates since I saw this, since I experienced them on his computer. He can open up his... what was it? He's got the drop-down thing at the top of the screen that allows him to be able to say what orientation he wants all his apps to be in. There's a bar up there. I don't have that.
Yeah,
do you?
We're migrating now into flap your trap about an app, because the second item in there is just that very topic. File Explorer tabs are now available in Windows 11, and I was waiting for this, version 22H2, but I don't see that in the same way as you're talking about not seeing some of the other things. So whether you've got to get a fresh install of Windows 11 to get this stuff up and running properly, shaking Microsoft into saying, let me have this. But in File Explorer, I just don't see that. Have you looked for that?
No, I don't have it. My son does on his.
And has he got... have you looked for File Explorer tabs? No.
Yep, he's got them there.
Has he?
Yes, I'm livid.
Yeah.
So I'm checking for a live update right now. No, I'm up to date as of 12:15 today. Apparently I'm up to date. I don't believe you. My son has.
I don't know how will you get this stuff, because it must be server-side switches that eventually they're just rolling out to people based on what, I don't know.
Well, I went on the WebNews website, downloaded the media creation tool, and created the USB from there. So it must have the latest build of it included on there. So if someone wants to go that way, they can get these nice features. I don't know. I haven't checked his photo app, because I know that they're taking out the video editing feature from the photo app to insist that you use Clip Junkie or whatever that nonsense is called that was installed, that got uninstalled as soon as I noticed it. So, there are a few changes, and their new Photos app might be slightly better, but I think he has the old Photos app, because I did try to do some editing of a photo for him to show him how to do it, and it looked like the old one. But I don't use Windows Photo app at all. Image Glass is the way forward, folks. This just doesn't... it's a different environment, so I wasn't able to comment on that. But he certainly has a bunch of these other features, and tabbed File Explorer is there. He's 10. He's never going to use that.
He doesn't want that, does he? He wants all the bells and whistles stuff. Give us the old-fashioned stuff.
Yeah, he's on Steam at the moment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's a bit annoying, that, but what can you do? It's just Microsoft, with their staggered rollout that people who've been using it for years can get it last, and the newbies can get it first, who aren't going to use it. Right, Netflix. Netflix are doing profile transfers, which is the most bizarre thing I've seen Netflix do for a while. Let's paint the little story, okay? Say you're getting a divorce. And of course, the first thing that's going to be on your mind is, if I get divorced and I move out of the house and I go and live in another house, I'm going to have to take out a new Netflix subscription, which means I'm going to lose my history. Yeah, they're not going to know what I like watching and don't like watching. So do I stay with my spouse, or do I get the divorce and move on? But luckily, folks, Netflix have profile transfer, which allows you to be able to get your divorce, go and live in another property, and as long as you've done this and opted in, you can transfer your profile across to your new account that you've set up in unmarried bliss.
As long as the owner of the Netflix account switches the switch. If they're being nasty to their leaving partner, they won't throw the switch.
Yeah, they can turn it off, and then whenever you get to that house, you go to log in and you find out that, oh no, they've turned it off. So you're going to have to mention that in your divorce proceedings, that they turn that back on. You want 50% of the house, 50% access to the children, and them to turn this function back on in Netflix. Wow, that's what we're talking about this morning, folks.
Yeah, it's all part of Netflix's super plan to stop account sharing. They're trying whatever they can, and this is just part of it, isn't it? It's saying, look, get your profiles separated out. We're regretting now we ever let anyone have profiles. And, we want to take them away, really. So let's separate. Every single person has their own Netflix account. None of this sharing nonsense. And people are ripping us off left, right and centre. And we want to haul it all back in, because so many people are leaving Netflix apparently since lockdown finished, when everyone was hoarding in there for something to do. Apparently there's huge numbers of people leaving now.
Yeah, it's a bit bonkers. Another thing I discovered, actually, which is kind of linked into that, is that Amazon Prime, do you know that there are limits to the amount of people that you can have in your Amazon household?
Not sure. Tell me.
You can have 2 adults and up to 4 children.
Oh, right.
Anyone who has more than that cannot have extra profiles.
Oh, okay.
So, say, for example, your elderly mother was to come and live with you. You cannot add her to your profile if you're married to someone else. You'll have to put her on as a child if you have less than 4 children.
There are limits on Kindles as well, which I found out. If you have a family reading subscription in Amazon Kindle, you can only have 2 adults and 2 children. So if you've got 3 children, you just can't, that's it, you're stuffed. You can't use it. So, yeah, their idea of what a family unit is at Amazon is a bit screwy, isn't it?
It is, yeah. What is it? Polygamists? That's a thing. In some countries, it's recognised as a legal way to be. That's where you have more than one. What's the religion?
Mormon.
Mormons, yeah, they can have several wives, can't they?
Yeah, 200.
So Amazon Prime does not effectively support the Mormon way of life.
I'd just like to clarify before we get letters. I don't know that it's 200. It was just an amusing quip. I do apologise if I've offended anyone that might be a Mormon.
It's as many as you can handle.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah. Well, I think that's quite interesting, because my mother was saying that she has a problem in that she lives in number 3 such and such an avenue, and her house is adjacent to number 3 such and such a close. They both have the same street name. So she frequently has to go across the road because the courier has dropped off her post from Amazon to that. And she wanted to get her her Amazon post delivered to my house. And I thought, well, what way can we do this? If I was to bring her into my household, then she might be able to get free postage and packaging. But I went and checked it out just to see what the likelihood was, because it could even be an issue that if she was to put my address on her account for deliveries, that could be a bit of a problem. But if she was to put my address on, then she could certainly come into my household. But you're only allowed 2 adults, so she's not allowed to be part of it.
Yeah, they have got the nuclear family kind of locked down a bit screwily. Screwily. Can I have that word? Screwily.
So, fascinating.
Who can we slag off next?
Well, that would be YouTube, because the bastards are putting the prices up. YouTube were talking about how they were going to hide their 4K content behind a paywall, which initially I thought that made a bit of sense. I was okay with that, because I pay for my YouTube Premium. But they're not going to do that now, but they're just going to put up the family price. They're not putting up the individual price plan, the family price plan, which I pay for my family, from $17.99 to $19.99. Now, we've done a bit better, I would say, than the Americans, whose theirs has gone up quite a bit more. I think it's gone up from $17.99 to $22.99, which is $4 more. $5 more. Yes. Sorry, I forgot my little finger. Whereas ours has only gone up £2. So it could have been worse, I guess.
Yeah, I suppose so.
But it's still unjustifiable. I don't like this. I'm not getting anything extra for my money. They're just putting it up. And it's not that the price of food and the price of oil and things like that are causing Google, a very rich company, to have to put up the prices. They're just doing it because that's what's done.
They have shareholders.
Yes.
They are under pressure to always give the shareholders good returns on their investments. Otherwise, they won't be considered to be in charge of the company and running things properly. And then they start sacking people and bringing in people that will run it properly and will make more money for the shareholders. Have you dropped your microphone?
I did, yes. Sorry. But it also made me think, right, okay, so there's two types of contracts on YouTube Premium. You've got your family one and you've got your individual one. So if I was to cancel my family contract or the premium, family premium, because they've put up this price rise, I would have a mutiny on my hands inside the walls of my house. Because my son would be furious that he's having to watch these videos. My wife would lose her subscription to YouTube Music, which is one of the things that makes her life slightly more joyful, given that she's married to me. And those are the only three people that are on my YouTube Premium plan. So it's quite a lot to pay for. Whereas if I was on my own, and this divorce has happened, and I've moved outside of the house, and I've taken my Netflix profile with me, thankfully. And they put that price up, I could justifiably cut that out and just deal with YouTube ads and get some sort of ad blocker, because there's plenty of ingenious ones out there. I reckon they haven't upped that one because they know a lot of people would shut it down. It's one of the first things that's going to go. But for a family, it's a lot harder to justify.
Yeah. I see what you mean. And of course, if you were a shareholder, you wouldn't care. I bet you if the Rolls-Royce prices went up, you wouldn't care, would you? I'm a shareholder. I'll get more money out of that. My shares will be worth more.
Yes, I would, absolutely. Absolutely. I want the Spectre 2 and 3 to be out. I want a family version of the Spectre.
Other people are not allowed to be capitalists, only you.
No, it's all about jet engines and things. That's the importance of Rolls-Royce. They make airplane engines, and we need more of those. Mm-hmm. Fuel-efficient polluters zooming around the globe. Yeah. Yes. Okay. Right. Okay. Any queer theories or rebuttals on
it's
YouTube?
It's just interesting how you did a U-turn on the last show. You were saying what a good idea it was, as you were saying just now. What a good idea it was to get the 4K playback limited. But yes, absolutely. And in a week, you turned tail on that completely.
I haven't. No. And initially, I did think it was a great idea, but they've done away with it, which I don't like. I would rather it be behind that paywall. I would, and rather than putting prices up for everyone, I think that they could have just downed their costs by putting the 4K playback behind the paywall.
But oh no.
No.
They stitched you up like a kipper.
Yes. Oh, okay. So Microsoft, how are they going to boost your PC? Is there an app?
Oh yeah, this new thing that's coming along. Incidentally, it's called the Microsoft what's it called? PC Manager, and It looks very, very Samsung to me. If you look at the picture of the main screen of it, it looks so much like a Samsung phone, boosting your performance, health check, storage management, process management, startup apps. I suppose that's a bit different, but even the security badge that you click on and the cleanup badges, they look exactly like Samsung ones. And it's just it's a means by which the point is that you can do all of these things manually. If you know what you're doing with Windows, you can go through to all these individual applications like Defender and what's the one where you defrag, isn't it? Yeah, and all of those things. You can do all that stuff, but this makes it all pretty and in one place, and it's a little app which they're going to be rolling out to, well, probably not to me and you, but to your son will get it.
Yes.
And it's just a kind of pretty front end, really. There's not much to say about it, is there?
No. And
hang on
I
a
think
minute. It says it's forcing people to install the Edge browser. One of the biggest criticisms is how this application is forcing people to install the Edge browser through the PC Manager. If you have set your default browser to do anything other than Edge, PC Manager labels it as a potential issue. The CADs. Yeah, this is
that's a lawsuit coming.
There definitely is. Google would get sued if they did that, and are being sued because they've done that kind of thing. So yeah, someone sue Microsoft.
Yes. Well, I'm not adverse to this idea. I do think that it's probably got some sort of, whenever you click on that security, it's going to tell you need some sort of pro side of an antivirus program or something like that, and then cleanup will have some kind of nasty, not CC cleaner, but some sort of outside third party thing that comes in and sweeps up your cookies. Yeah. But I think that most people would be happy enough with something like this, because going in and doing this yourself can be a bit complicated, and it's just a bit of reassurance that your computer can run better. And whenever you click a button, it goes, "We've done this, and we've got rid of this amount of excess bloat." You go, "Oh, right, okay, that's good, isn't it?" That's good.
Which is exactly what Samsung do on their phones. It looks like an absolute clone to me.
It does, and it'll be funny whenever this happens, and if it does do something and the cleaner goes and sweeps your registry, and then your computer doesn't boot next time around because it's been a bit more harsh than it needed to be, and got rid of something that you needed, which it happens.
Indeed.
It can happen. It has happened.
Incidentally, it's not just Samsung. It's Oppo and Xiaomi and.
You're trying not to get sued, no?
Yeah, I am. They all seem to have this little clean-up tool which they all like, particularly in the Far East. Anyway, there you go.
Yes. Right. Well, we'll move on to Harkback. No, we'll not. We'll go into Chrome Corner, where you can tell us what's new. I've got my Chromebook here. I'm ready to learn.
As usual, nothing much. First one.
I didn't need to bring it up then. I can just turn it off then.
Google is rolling out Chrome improvements on Android tablets. This is all the promised stuff that we knew that was coming, and there are various bits and pieces. I just realised I haven't read this before we've recorded today. So, once again, we're fully prepared for this. This is about Android preparing for Google preparing for Android 12L really, and making the. I haven't read this. I'm sorry. Have you read this?
That's all right. No, I didn't. That's why I was asking you to teach me things. So Google is ruling out the Chrome improvements on Android tablets, and what this does is allows you to drag and drop between apps, allowing you to take an image or a text or a link from Chrome and slide it into, say, Gmail or
you can do that already.
Phone, photos, or that kind of thing on your Android tablet.
You can
and
do that
it
already,
brings
though.
the desktop mode on Chrome, but maybe it's outside of one of the developer type things, or maybe it's arrived in.
Maybe it's on more apps. Okay, maybe they've rolled it out to more apps and not just Gmail and photos. Okay.
I didn't know you could drag between Gmail and photos.
Yeah, you can. If you got
on Android.
Yeah, one open on each side. And if you're composing a new email, you can just grab one of your photos and drag it across. You can do that in Keep as well, and
nice.
Some other programs. I'm really unprepared for this item, and I blame you.
Yes, it is entirely my fault. I'm sorry, folks.
Let's move on to the next one, which is.
Okay, I'm quickly reading it. Do you want to take a few
No, I
minutes?
know about this one, because this is an interesting one about threading. And we have this issue all the time because of MeWe. In our MeWe group, they nest comments inside threading in a really unhelpful way. And they give you a little button that you pop down, and the button... you're supposed to notice that there are comments buried underneath this little button. Well, it's actually a little arrow, And if you don't notice it, you won't know. You won't see that stuff going on. The other model that's used, that I have used in the past, is Discus, where each of the threads is very obvious and you can open it out and you can see what's going on very clearly. Now, the change to Google Chat, which no one in the world uses except me, you and Steve and my mum, is that...
My mum too.
Your mum too? Well, okay. Perhaps more people use it than I thought, but... you will
one more
in chat, at least on desktop at the moment, and in on a tablet, I think you will be able to click open a nested reply area, and when you do that, it opens up a second panel to the right, and that shows the nested comments associated with that arrow or that nested place. And it looks like, if you were using chat for kind of business purposes, particularly, I suppose, and you were involved in a kind of group discussion with a lot of people, it would be very helpful, and I can see that working. But, I just don't know many people that use chat. I've got, in my chat thingy, I've got about 6 people, I think, 6 people that I regularly use chat with, and that's it. It's nothing like the huge amounts of people that I chat with, say, by email, for example, or most people chat with, like in MeWe or other messaging tools. I don't know. They seem to be persevering with chat, but I'm not sure that it really is such a huge thing. Anyway, so that's the other Chrome-based item. As I said last week, there are so many little things going on with Chrome, but none of them mount up very much to anything big and exciting. They all seem to be little tiny things and not even worth mentioning. Let's move on.
Well, little what do you call it? Quality of life changes, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I suppose it's because Google only has one person really working on Chrome, so they just come up with one new thing every day, isn't it?
Yeah.
Come up with the idea and then implement it the next day.
Yeah. I'll tell you what, I'll come back to the Chrome and Android tablets thing next week, because we're both interested in that, and I should have read it and understood it. So I'll leave it in for next week, and I'll do some homework, okay?
Okie dokie. You do that then.
Deal.
That's grand. In the meantime, you're going to have to tell us what exactly a Yamaha FS1E is and why you love it between your legs.
You failed to begin with. You pronounced it wrong. It's not an FS1E. It's a Fizzy.
Okay.
When I was in my teenage years, I was 16 years old, and it was 1979, and the Fizzy, the FS1E Yamaha, was the thing that all kids of my age just wanted, and I was so pleased that in 1979, which was a bit late to the party because they'd been out since 1973, I got one second hand. It was about 50 quid, and wow. I absolutely loved it, and I thought I was the absolute bee's knees. I was flying around Southampton at the time, on my Fizzy. In my first job, I was working with Barclays Bank in a really, really boring job. But as soon as I got out of the place, I was on my Fizzy and I was flying around the city and just having fun. This was a little moped, a 49cc moped, which had no restrictions on it, unlike mopeds now. The early Fizzies had pedals as well, which later on they didn't. There's no electric start or anything. It was a kickstart, so you had to kickstart it every time. And they brought the motorbike experience to 16-year-old kids like me who wanted to have a motorbike kind of manly experience, and so you had proper gears, and you had a kick down and kick up gear, left pedal, and a clutch on the left, the left of the handlebar, and it just worked like a proper motorbike. And as I say, the early ones were not restricted, so you could get up to like 60 miles an hour on it, and later on, when they did bring in restrictions to the Fizzies, along with other mopeds, anything else 49cc, you could actually still override it, and there was a trick, and you could get it up to about 45 or 50 miles an hour then. But my one was not restricted, and I can remember I was living in Southampton, and all my friends lived over in Bognor in Sussex, and every weekend I would just went over and stay with my friends away from my digs because I was so bored with my job in Southampton, couldn't wait to get away. Friday afternoon, Friday evening, got on my fizzy, rode it over to Bognor, which was about 30 miles away, and it was absolutely fine with that because I could get up to like 50 and 60 miles an hour, and it was great. And it was it was a really good time in my life, and it was my first taste of real independence, and it was one of the things that was not so good about it was that it was a two-stroke engine, unlike the little moped I've got now, incidentally, which is a four-stroke engine. But with a two-stroke engine, you had to put oil in it as well. So every time you put petrol in the tank, you also had to put oil in the oil reservoir, and that was a real pain in the arse. But apart from that, you just had to make sure you had some oil at the same time. And they stopped making these, and I think the reason they stopped making them was because the idea was from Yamaha was that these were pushed out for the 16 and 17-year-olds, get them hooked into Yamaha, and then get them buying bigger ones when they're 17, and they can they don't have to have a moped anymore. But I think that what screwed it was the UK government, certainly in this country anyway, that changed the law with regards to this governor being put in, and having pedals and making sure that a moped, inverted commas, was a motorised pedal machine and not a motorbike. And so they restricted it to 30 miles an hour, and then suddenly your kind of manly machine when you were a 16-year-old that went almost as fast as a 250cc bike because it was unrestricted. Suddenly you were pootling around. You could hardly get into top gear because you was restricted to 29 miles an hour, and it was just a complete pain in the arse. Fortunately, mine wasn't, and I didn't have to go through that experience. And then when I was 17, I did indeed move on. But it was a great machine. When I look back at that, I think to myself, it was such a great time, and I did have my independence initially, and got out there, and I could just do my own thing, and I absolutely loved it. The FS1E Yamaha, which apparently this is something for you as a collector. Apparently, if you can find one of these now, they're going for between £2,500 and £5,000 each. That's just amazing, isn't it?
Wow, yeah. Whenever I saw that price, I was thinking, it's not too bad.
Well, yeah. I suppose it depends on what condition it's in, but you can see from the pictures that it was trying to look like a proper motorbike, and the 16-year-olds that could then fly around at 60 miles an hour on this, like me. You felt as though you were a motorbiker. It didn't matter that it was a 49cc because it was a motorbiking experience, and that was the time when we were kind of on the back of the Fonz on the telly, and Grease, and everyone being hip and cool with their machines and getting out there. Good time, really liked it. That was my hark back, and it was a hark back to a very, very enjoyable era.
Yeah, it was nice listening to your passion as well. That's interesting. What happened to yours?
Sold it. Yeah, when I got to where I was going, I'd moved up to something else, which I can't remember. I think it was a 100cc motorbike after that.
And it wasn't a Yamaha, though?
No, it wasn't. It was a Honda. You're quite right, yeah. Their strategy failed with me.
Their strategy always does fail. Aside from where Google is getting Google into classrooms and people aren't going, ooh. You get people enthusiastic about cars and motorcycles and things like that. And whenever they move from their beginner's one onto something else, they don't want to be attached to the stigma that was that beginner's one. They want the Ducati or something like that. They want the real machine.
Actually, the Honda, I'm thinking, your question caught me on the hop there. The Honda I got later on. What stopped me riding the Fizzy was the fact that I passed my car test when I was 17, and I bought a car. Yeah, that was my first car. A Hillman Minx deregistration Hillman Minx with a starting handle on the front if needed.
Hillman Minx? M-I-N-X?
M-I-N-X, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I know
Hillman
those.
Minx. And that was my first car, deregistration. And it was, So anyway, yes. So as soon as I was 17, I passed my car test, and the fizzy went away, and I didn't need to be on a motorbike anymore.
I could see you in a Hillman Minx. They didn't have head support or headrests.
No, they didn't. That's right. In those days, you didn't get headrests. Well, you did in posh cars. You know, some cars had them, but not as standard and by law. It was a great car.
Working class could break their necks in a crash, whereas the posh couldn't.
Exactly. But one day I'll come back and do the Hillman Minx on Harkback.
Yeah, I remember being a TV show and I had to drive a Hillman Hunter.
Oh yeah,
and it was a beautiful car, but it had clutch problems. Yeah. And I remember there was a number of shots where I had to drive the car around playing a criminal, and it was really difficult to drive, and the amount of botched takes because the car would stall or something, and the guy would come over and no, you gotta go do this. There's a knack to this. I'm like, oh, I'm trying to remember my lines.
Yeah. The Hillman cars were great. I loved them. So
yeah.
Anyway, the fizzy, that made me feel like the Fonz. I felt really cool, and people turned their heads when they saw a fizzy coming. And it had this really distinctive noise as well, this high-pitched whine, which you would now associate with kids on mopeds if you heard it, because it was a horrible high-pitched whine. But at the time, it didn't seem to matter. It was a distinctive sound that fizzies made.
Yeah. And it made you feel impressive.
Cool. I was cool.
Cool.
Never again. I was cool then, but never again.
It all changed when you got that mix. Right. Okay, well, moving into the bargain basement, that was a lovely hark back there, Ted, and I'm sure our listeners did enjoy it. First up is one with you, with a band company.
Yeah, Huawei FreeBuds 4. These are down from 150 quid to 89 quid. And I put these in here because I've got a pair of FreeBuds 3, and I still got them, and I still use them, and I still think they're really good. They are best if you use them with a Huawei phone, obviously, because all the hooks kind of work with each other and it works perfectly. But as no one's got a Huawei phone anymore, but it doesn't matter. You can download the app and it does certain things and it works pretty well, and they sound pretty good. So I can only assume that the FreeBuds 4 work as well as the FreeBuds 3. The box is wirelessly charging and you get loads of battery. Let's see what the statistics say on that. I can't find it, but my FreeBuds 3 will last ages on battery, significantly more than the Samsung Buds. Anyway, there you go, 41% off.
Okay, with noise cancellation off, it allows for 2.5 hours of playback with a 15-minute fast charge, 22 hours of music playback with the fully charged case, with noise cancelling on, 14 hours of music playback with a fully charged case.
That's not as good as mine do. 2.5 hours of playback. That's terrible, isn't it?
Just in the headphones themselves.
Yeah. But even so, that's really bad, isn't it? Because AirPods, you get kind of 4 and 5 hours. I'm sure my version 3s are better than that. Perhaps they've screwed them with version 4. I withdraw this item.
Maybe it's 2.5 hours per headphone. So that totals 5 hours.
That would be better, certainly. Aye. There's the 415.
It's running a bit early or late?
Early.
Wow, really early too. No wonder they're in such a turmoil. Right, okay. I was having a look for USB drives because I suddenly realised I needed to install Windows 10 and Windows 11 and only had one USB drive that I could find. So I went on to Amazon so that I could stock up and have a few more. And I just noticed that just a good old-fashioned Cruiser blade from SanDisk, a 32 gigabyte one, which is just USB 2.0, No frills, just simple to the point. 64 gigabytes of storage, nothing too exciting or fast. $399
Wow.
for a 32 gigabyte flash drive. That's $399.
Yeah.
I think milk is almost up to that price, is it not?
But then I suppose
A couple of litres of milk.
how useful is a 32 gigabyte flash drive? All right, with your
Certainly useful if you're installing Windows
with-
or Linux or something
with your
like that.
particular example, maybe that would have worked fine. But when would you use it again after you've done that job?
Well, yes, but then these things are obviously very popular. They continue to sell them in various different forms and guises. So having, there must be some need for these at 32 gigabyte. The 64 gigabyte version is cheap as well. It is $699, but the crown king is the 128 gigabyte at $12.99. It is USB 2.0, so it'll take you a while to copy stuff onto it and off again, but 13 quid for that amount of storage carried around in your pocket, you could just leave stuff on there and forget about it.
Yeah, definitely.
You can get a 3-pack as well, which I think for the 32 gigabytes, was really good value. Just having a look at those prices. Triple pack was $13.99 for 3 of these. So that...
Yeah.
4 3s or 12. That's a bit more
Well,
expensive.
128 is more useful. You could put some films on it and then get a USB-A to USB-C adapter and stick it in your phone. And then you can get past the fact that your crappy phone has got 128 gigabytes of storage and no expansion.
Or you could pick up I've given you an alternative here as well, the SanDisk Ultra USB flash drive, which is a 3.0 USB drive with 130 megabytes per second read, and that'll do. It's a pack of 1 at $7.99, which is dirt cheap. You asked me for 64 gigabytes, but the triple pack is $15.99, so you're almost getting one free, almost.
Yeah.
But that's for the 32 gigabyte. Actually, the 64 is what we want to go for. That's £28 for 3 of them, so a tenner each.
Super.
That's dead cheap.
Yeah. Can you plug them?
And they always come in handy.
Can you plug them into your? No, I suppose you can't. Can you? I was going to say, can you plug them into your cameras and stuff? But they want a micro SD card straight in, don't they?
They do, yeah. And I have been looking for flash drives with just USB Type C, because I would love to be able to just, have USB Type C on everything. I have a USB hub that also has USB Type Cs that you can plug your flash drives in. So I'm thinking about having a look around for some of that kind of gear to change things. So you can plug in, then pull it out, and stick it straight into your phone. There's a PlayStation 5 has a USB Type C on the front as well that you can plug in. So, yeah, there's all kinds of reasons to start moving across to USB Type C.
Interesting that you should mention that, because this week, as I was mentioning earlier, we got the Pixel Watch. My mum couldn't find a plug anywhere in the house, because the Pixel Watch comes with this puck thingy to charge it, and on the end of the cable there's a USB-C, typical Pixel style, but no plug, of course. And she said, why didn't they just put a USB-A on the end of it? Because I've got 1,001 USB-A plugs, but she hunted the house high and low, couldn't find a single USB-C plug. Well, until I pointed out that there was one in her Pixel box, her Pixel 4a 5G box. It had one in there. But, having to plug it directly in is a bit of a pain at the moment. I think you're right. We should all be transferred right over everything to USB-C.
Yeah. And also the initiative that we were talking about last week or the week before about how they're removing chargers to save on electronic waste and things like that. People don't have USB Type C chargers. They've got 1,000,001 USB Type A.
Right.
Your mum is absolutely right. And Google's just saving a couple of pennies.
Yeah. Anyway, she's now ordered a packet of 3 USB-A to USB-C adapters for a £5 off Amazon. So there you go. Talking of Amazon, I've got a link here to a Samsung's accessories page where most stuff is 30% off And there's some interesting stuff in there if you've got the right phone for a case or a pencil or a pen or anything you like. I was drawn to the Z Flip device stuff. Actually, these are Flip 4, I didn't realise that, and not Flip 3, so they wouldn't fit mine. But they're quite dinky and nice, and everything's genuine Samsung stuff, and it's mostly 30% off, so have a look.
There's one there that says Flid on it. Oh no, it's Flip. Right. Blimey.
Don't.
No, I genuinely thought that because it looks like it, well, the way it's lit. I suppose it would be actually Flib, Flib.
That would be more.
But the P doesn't have a tail.
Which one are you looking at?
It's the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 4 official silicone cover with strip white. It's $24.49. It's on that page in the second row, second one along. It's the only one with a word on it that looks a bit like...
No, it says fold.
No, it says FLI, and then there's a round thing that has a line over it, and the orange line makes it look like a D.
Okay, we're looking...
I don't have the fold.
No, we're looking at different
Yours must
ones.
be different to mine. But I clicked your link, and that's what came up.
They've obviously laid our Amazon pages out differently. Anyway.
Oh, yeah, I see the one with fold actually on it. It's in first row and third one across.
Yeah, they've laid it out differently. They're obviously laying things out differently for each person based on what they think they can flog us most at the top.
Or how they want to insult us.
Yes.
With derogatory terms that are not acceptable in today's society.
Indeed.
All right, next up is the TP-Link Tapo Smart Plug. Yes, it's a smart plug, folks, but this one is the energy monitoring one, so you can keep track of just how much electricity your television is using, and see that it's actually quite low-powered compared to what Samsung is trying to crap out. This is $9.99. There was a 2-pack on here for $17.99 yesterday, but it seems to have disappeared. But that's pretty much the same price as the regular plug, but with the energy monitoring put in as well, which is great. That's what you need, that's what you want, and that's what you'll have if you buy it.
I've got 2-pack here for $16.99. That seems to be available to me. And there's a 4-pack for £29.
Oh, the 4-pack's showing £70 here.
Really? You see tailored Amazon pages for us all.
Actually, now that I've clicked on the 4-pack, going back to the 1-pack, it's not Prime anymore. No, it is Prime. Sorry, Prime was not showing in the box underneath the price, but no, it is.
Amazon is such fun, isn't it? Learn how to use it. Learn how it works. Great fun.
Not all customers are the same, according to Amazon.
Yeah, apparently so. Hey, you know that Quence Labs thing that you had on the last show? Quick key.
Yes.
I just thought a quick mention to say that I said that it's sometimes £76, and sure enough, hours after we recorded, I went back and looked at it, and it was reduced to £76. And is it still £76 today? Yes,
it is, but they've only got 12 left in stock.
Quick! You know you want one.
No, I don't. I can't. I've ordered a few things yesterday that are arriving today. Spent too much on electronics this month.
Fair enough.
Maybe next month.
Okay.
Got to be disciplined. Sensible.
I think you'd be better with a Stream Deck anyway, personally. But anyway, each to their own.
No, I like this. This is different. This one I'll be able to sit each week and say mine's better than yours. And then you'll be able to say, no, I disagree. Mine is better than yours. And then we can have it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Next up, over on Amazon, is something that I own and I'm very proud of. I love it to bits. And it's been reduced down by just over £10. £10 and 4p to be exact, which is about 8%. But it's a very, very welcome, great distraction to everything that's going on in the world. It's the A500 Mini from Electronic Games. This is the emulator type version, the small mini console of the Commodore Amiga A500. Ooh. And at that price, I think it's an absolute steal. I love mine. It comes with 30 games, is it, already pre-installed, but it also supports WHD load, which means you can go and find yourself a pack of games that you legally own and put them on a micro USB stick, slot it into the back, and play absolutely anything from Amiga's library. It also now supports homebrew, and that people are still making games for the Amiga, and they look phenomenal. AGA games that look absolutely top-notch. They're bringing games that never made it to the Amiga. They're remaking games that were crap and making them better. So you can sit down. It includes the original Tank mouse and the Amiga CD32 joypad nod. It's not the same. Thankfully, it's not the same controller as that, but it has some of the design flourishes. They are also selling the Commodore 64 joystick in black as well, which is a bit of a classic joystick there with a couple of buttons on it, or quite a good few buttons, and it's compatible, so you can pick it up. But it's 30 quid, which is quite expensive. I think these things are great. I absolutely love mine, and I've found myself spending more time with this than I have with any of my other gaming consoles over the last number of months since I picked it up. Mm-hmm. It's great stuff, really is great stuff. Nice. This takes more TV time than my Evercade does.
Oh, right. And brought to you by the Cock Store.
Excuse me?
Brought to you by the Cock Store. You see that?
I see.
Just underneath the title there. Visit the Cock Distribution Store.
You go straight for that, don't you? KOCH, right, gotcha. Okay.
Anyway, yeah, that's a nice 10 quid off if you wanted one, certainly. Very interesting. Yeah. Have we got anything left? Oh, yeah, there's a Ugreen. Oh, that's my GAN charger. 20% off. It should be 80 quid. It's now 64 quid, which was the price that I paid when I got mine. So 63.99. Just to note that there's currently 20% off, and you can get it back down at that price. And it's a cracking charger. It really is. 100 watts of power, and it distributes them. It tells you exactly what you get if you plug 1, 2, 3 or 4 things into it. 2 USB-Cs, 2 USB-As. Really, really good charger. I'm so pleased I got it.
Terrific. That does look actually quite good, yeah. And it's a nice colour too.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one is there was a sale on SSDs on the last Amazon Prime Day, and the price seems to have stayed for the crucial P2 2TB M.2 PCIe Gen 3 NVMe internal SSD. It's down to £128.99p. It has been marginally cheaper. It's gone down to £117 in the past. But for this amount of storage, that's a cracker of a drive for you to throw in. I don't know if it's compatible with the PlayStation 5. I didn't check. I'm having a quick look to see if anyone has noted that it has. I'm just looking at all the 1-star reviews. Corrupted my data twice. No. Very slow. Problems, and more problems. Okay, never mind.
To be fair, there are 31,000 reviews.
Aye, but all of them are negative.
No, it's got an average of 4.5 stars. They can't all be negative.
Well, I suppose these ones are dated back to 2020, 2020, 21, 20. Are you seeing all these negative reviews?
No.
Or have I got them sorted to just a 1-star reviews?
You must have, because all the ones I'm looking at are high.
Okay, all right. Well, don't let me put you off it then. Anyone who happens to be listening and is interested in buying one of these. They look like a pretty decent drive. You get 2 terabytes of NVMe M.2 storage for 130 quid is brilliant. Mm-hmm. Lovely. Right, okay, well that about brings us to the end. We're running long because of the big chat we had about TV at the very start of the show. So we'll love you and leave you. If you want to get in touch with us by emailing us at gareth@techaddicts.uk. You can also find us on Twitter at techaddictsuk. You can find me on Twitter too at Gareth Miles, GarethMiles. Les. And I have my .com as well, which has the similar spelling to my Twitter handle. I keep it that way. And where can they find you, Ted?
TedSalmon.com. That's where I hang out. That's where everything goes from. Audio podcasts and MeWe groups, links to all that stuff in there. And if you want to buy me a coffee, I would be very grateful. PayPal.me/TedSalmon. Ted Salmon, that would just be delightful.
Do that. Go over and stroke his genius. All right. we'll be back at the same time next week with another colourful phone show. No, Tech Addicts podcast. That's what we do on this one. Sorry, I turned into an illiterate Steve there. Sorry, Steve. You're much better than me. All right, take care, folks. Speak to you next week. Bye-bye.